When you marry a Filipina, life will never be the same. Culturally speaking, of course. Take sports, for example. She might understand basketball and possibly badminton, but never try to explain American football and always stay away from baseball. She will shy away from the foods that you grew up with, and she will eat things that you never imagined, like duck embryo and other stuff. There are many things that you will come to learn in your first 6 months being married to a Filipina. Like the discovery that your toaster, when turned on its side, makes a toaster oven until it ejects things prematurely. Then it just makes a mess. You'll learn that your wife has likely taught you all the Tagalog she wants you to know. Your entire wardrobe smells like dried, cooked fish. Bulad, bukid, call it what you will, it's all stinky. That oo or hindi are the answers to all your questions. Well, mostly hindi. That your monthly bank statement consistently shows 65 transactions or more of 100 pesos or less. It's perfectly okay to drive 50 miles to a Filipino restaurant for halo-halo, but to drive 5 miles to a Mexican restaurant for a bean burrito, that's just a waste of gas. It's dangerous for you to walk the streets at night in the Philippines. Unless you're not carrying your ATM card with you, then it's perfectly safe. You'll discover that you really don't need air conditioning, because it keeps the family from visiting. And when they do visit, they don't stick around long. You'll find out that the family has multiplied 3 times since you got married, and that most relatives after 6 months still refer to you as Joe. Some even just call you the foreigner. You'll understand that salt keeps evil spirits away. Not Himalayan pink salt, mind you, just regular table salt. It works. Karaoke is the #1 national pastime in the Philippines. Basketball and chicken adobo are a close second, but they provide good cover for #1. Pointing at a rainbow with your index finger can be hazardous to, well, your finger, I'm not sure, or maybe other parts of your body. All I know is it's just dangerous. You will learn that cockfighting is considered a real income, and you will be further convinced that you will get rich by owning a sari-sari store. You will also learn that Salabat or ginger tea cures everything from the common cold to hangnails. No, really, it does. Well, I'm not so sure about the hangnail thing. Then if you conceal a little rum or whiskey in your Salabat tea, you have a hot toddy. But you should never consume more than 6 or 7 in a row, because she will become suspicious. And if you ever become ill, it's entirely your fault. You will be accused of doing something like swimming in the ocean at low tide, or taking a shower outdoors to cool off because you're hot. And if you do get sick, don't worry, there's always Salabat tea. You'll learn that it's necessary to always travel with spare Tupperware containers, just in case you attend a party or fiesta, because you gotta have something to put all that food that they give you into. Karaoke machines can work without electricity. Don't ask me how, they do. I know this jungle with music. Some restaurants are better than others, not because they serve good food, but because they serve unlimited rice. And butterflies, they're not really flying insects, they're just deceased relatives that come for a visit. A spoon is a primary eating utensil. When the fingers aren't being used like an excavator digging in a pile of gravel. A spoon can also be used as a weapon, depending on her mood. You might want to keep a hard hat handy. A fork, on the other hand, is a backup tool designed for ripping or cutting into meat. It's also used for spearing fish. Understand this, you will probably never win an argument with a Filipina. Wait, I think that's true about most women. And even after consuming a lot of Salabat tea, it doesn't really make you smarter like you think it does. A rice cooker will be the most cherished asset that you'll own. Invest wisely. Buying in bulk is a foreign concept. It doesn't really save you money. You see, when you buy in bulk, it costs more money to transport all that stuff home. It's just easier to buy single packs of everything, except rice. That comes in 50-kilo sacks. And that just doesn't fit the narrative. And that brings us to logic. Logic is just another English word that never translates in Tagalog, or any other dialect for that matter. You will learn that your wife has special talents, like cramming 50 pounds of stuff that she doesn't need into a suitcase and manages to pass the airline's 50-pound bag limit. Karaoke at max volume is fine, but listening to your favorite rock and roll music at 1/4 volume while having a couple beers with your buddies, it's just noise, and it's a public nuisance. The letters F and P are one and the same, as are the letters V and B. They're one and the same. Pronouns like he and she are always switched around in a sentence. Intentionally, I might add, as a distractor to something possibly more devious. Lip pointing in conjunction with precise head movements can have certain or even different meanings. It's up to you to decipher it all. You will also be required to become a mind reader or suffer the consequences. You will come to learn that at most Filipino parties and gatherings, there is no real music, other than that the music that they play that all has the exact same beat, which you can only do the karatsa dance to. Did I just end that sentence with a preposition? You'll find out that there are over 300 varieties of rice in the Philippines. When I grew up, we ate potatoes, and I always thought that rice-a-roni was a San Francisco novelty item. I also thought Uncle Ben was a mythical creature. Bagoong is an hors d'oeuvre. And patis, which is fish sauce, to me I think it tastes more like turpentine than fish. But it's the only sauce there is. It goes with everything. Well, except fried chicken. They use banana ketchup on that. You will learn that you will never need to send her to a doctor and spend money for a hearing test. A simple psst from about 50 meters away will determine that her hearing is just fine. And this is important. You'll know that there is no allotted space in a refrigerator for beer. The ref is for everything but beer. And obtaining such space for beer is the equivalent difficulty of a moon landing. It can take several years to actually carve out some refrigerator real estate for beer. The rice cooker consumes more electricity than all other things in the house combined, next to the 8 phone charger banks that are always in use. And if you blow up the neighborhood transformer, it's on you, because you're the foreigner and you can afford to replace it. At some point you will begin to believe that 3-in-1 is real coffee. And if you do reach that point in under 6 months, then you are a weak-minded individual. Normally it takes a full year for most foreigners to come to this realization. You will become affected by TAMPO, a PMS-like syndrome that occurs multiple times a month. It's like a disease there is no cure for. You should always fight the urge to resist TAMPO or go against the grain here. Just go with the flow. You'll be much better off. Trust me. Just remember that Filipinos are not naturally confrontational, you being the only exception. Oh, and it cannot be cured with Salabat Tea. You will discover that the television will always be tuned in to Filipino stations. I consider myself lucky in this respect because my wife does not watch Tagalog television. Lately, though, she's been drawn to televised gun violence like Gunsmoke, Bonanza, and even Clint Eastwood movies. I think it's a fetish. You'll learn that there's no more desirable fashion wear than Calvin Klein, who himself admitted years ago that designer fashion was gone. But none of that matters as long as they can still fit into a good knockoff pair of designer jeans and fashion themselves up for a trip to the beach or for a go-round on a karaoke machine. Of all the things you will come to learn, you will never understand why, when you invest a good chunk of money in roasting a succulent, tender, juicy pig, that everyone fights over the burnt skin and the ears. You will learn that you can completely lose your wife in a department store. And the bigger the store, the more time she spends lost. I really think department stores in this part of the world should lower their clothing racks by 6 inches. Or the store should provide colored, numbered helium balloons that you could tie around your wife's neck so that you can keep track of her. I learned that there are different sized buckets for washing all things, from rice to clothes to I suspect there might be a bucket color scheme in play here, but after 35 years of marriage to this culture, I still haven't figured this one out. You will understand why there's a need for 2 kitchens, a clean kitchen and a dirty kitchen. You will need both. We didn't have such a thing as a dirty kitchen when I grew up. We just had a barbecue grill on the patio. And when you met your wife, she had maybe 2 pairs of shoes, but now she has 2 3-tiered shoe racks, and there are no vacancies. You will always be the last person informed about parties and fiestas and weddings and such. And last but not least, she will have learned that her sweet little smile melts you like a flame melts wax, and you will learn there's nothing you can do about it.